Planning a wedding and feeling overwhelmed? Simply Eloped makes it easy. With over 1,400 elopements and vow renewals planned and 37 stunning U.S. destinations, our planners have you covered. Our all-inclusive packages connect you with over 700 top-tier vendors, cutting stress, cost, and complexity. Your love story deserves ease. Let us handle the hard stuff. You just show up and say, I do. Start at simplyeloped.com. In 6 months, Philly, the world's eyes will be on us. We are hosting 6 matches of the FIFA World Cup tournament, the most watched sporting event in the world. And over the weekend, we found out which countries will be playing here at the link come June. Ecuador versus Ivory Coast, or Côte d'Ivoire. Then Brazil, which has won more World Cups than any other team, plays Haiti. We'll host powerhouse France against either Iraq, Bolivia, or Suriname. And then we'll see Curacao versus the Ivory Coast and Croatia versus Ghana before a round of 16 tournament finale on July 4th. Today on CityCast Philly, I'm sitting down with Meg Kane, host, city executive, and CEO of Philadelphia Soccer 2026, to talk about the rise of soccer in Philly and why hosting the World Cup is a game changer for Philly. It's Tuesday, December 9th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and we're kicking it this summer in Philly. It's day 2 of our year-end membership campaign, and we're inviting listeners to become CityCast Philly neighbors. In 2026, we want Philly to feel like a place where people know each other a little bit better and care a little bit more. CityCast Philly neighbors is how we're trying to make this happen. Our neighbors are people who celebrate what makes the city really special and care about issues shaping our city. CityCast neighbors are also newcomers who are looking to get more engaged in their neighborhoods and in Philly. And CityCast neighbors are also longtime residents who bring years of local knowledge to the table. So if that sounds like you, join us and help make this city feel more like maybe one big neighborhood. Head over to membership.citycast.fm/Philly. It's just $10 a month, $100 a year. You'll get invites to member-only events. You get exclusive access to our Philly events guide, so you know what's happening in the city. We also have shout outs on the show. I will shout you out. I will shout out your favorite coffee shop, your favorite business, whatever you want. I'll shout it out. And when you become a CityCast Philly neighbor today, like right now, you are getting some of our newest swag. We've got this free beanie if you join today. All right, let's get into our conversation about the FIFA World Cup here in Philly. So Meg, it seems like soccer has just grown as a recreational sport. There's youth leagues, adult clubs, lots of fields all around in our region. And now, we've got Major League Soccer in the Philadelphia Union, over in Chester. And then the FIFA World Cup is coming next year to Philadelphia. Can you describe the growth of soccer in our city and in our region?
So it's a great question because I think sometimes people think of soccer as having, kind of just arrived on the scene, especially in Philadelphia. But that's not the case. In fact, there's 2 stories to really tell here. The first dates all the way back to the mid-1800s. Right? And when we look at immigration waves that came to the United States, soccer arrived with the first wave of immigrants that came here from Europe. And so when you look at the history of where soccer has been popular within the Philadelphia region and where there has been incredible strength in teams, in youth teams, high school teams, and then producing college and elite level players, that's oftentimes found in the Northeast and really looking along the river wards because originally that's where factories were. Mm. And that's where Irish immigrants, English immigrants, Polish, Italian, right? When they came over, they worked in those factories. And it was at at lunch hour or after work, they would play pickup soccer, right? So that was a sport that came and really, was grounded in that part of the city for a really long time. And so as you look at great soccer players and really the strength of some of those incredible adult leagues, many of them are rooted along those river wards and up into the Northeast. The Ukrainian clubs and the German clubs still are incredibly vibrant, especially up in the far Northeast, Fox Chase. But what we have also seen is that as immigration patterns in the city of Philadelphia have changed, the growth of soccer, and where we see, again, incredible adult and youth play and elite athletes coming out of, are now in Southwest and West Philadelphia, because we have seen that increase in immigration waves that come from Africa, that come from the Caribbean nations. We see North Philadelphia. We see the Hispanic, the growth of the game, and obviously how incredibly exciting and how much it is a part of the South American and Central American culture. So when you think of Philadelphia as a city of diversity, soccer, more than any other sport, is the sport that marries with our growth as a city and growth as a region in terms of our own immigration story. And so when you marry that and see the history and the sport come together, the growth is really rooted there. So that's the first part. The second part is that when the United States hosted the World Cup for the very first time in 1994, you are absolutely correct. Soccer, it was much more of a niche sport, right? In the minds of the United States. The exponential growth between 1994 and 2026 is extraordinary. The legacy of 94 was Major League Soccer. And the question of, well, can Major League Soccer really work in the United States? And 30 years on, the answer is absolutely. And not only is Major League Soccer working, but women's professional soccer is working and growing exponentially. So this is really a moment where I think 2026 offers this incredible confluence of soccer history coming together, and that sort of explosion moment is going to come after this tournament, because I do think that there has just been an incredible wave that has occurred over these last 35, 40 years that has positioned soccer now for this meteoric growth within the United States.
Like over the summer, I was in Rittenhouse and there were so many fans who were in town for the club games. Yeah. And they were rocking the jerseys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that I think will feel different to some extent, or feel very similar to Philadelphians.
Yeah, maybe
the way
similar,
that I would say similar to Sundays in the fall. Right?
Yeah.
When the Eagles are playing because everyone is at Target or in the grocery store,
right,
and it's a full Go Birds moment, right? That is, I think, a very unique thing to Philadelphia. That is how people knew that something incredible was happening in the city when Club World Cup came last summer, right? You were seeing people just throughout the city during the day, in bars, in restaurants, running the Rocky Steps, at the Delaware River waterfront, in the museums, experiencing all that Philadelphia is, but wearing their team's soccer kit, right? And so we got a small taste in 2025 with Club World Cup of what FIFA World Cup will feel like. This is the world's game. In the course of a 39-day tournament, we're expecting 19 billion people to tune in to watch a match in the World Cup, right? You're expecting almost 3 billion to tune in for the final, right? And as Americans, we oftentimes look at the Super Bowl as being that echelon, the pinnacle of viewership around the world.
Or the World Series.
Or the World Series. Mm-hmm. But the Super Bowl is a great example. The Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl drew 240 million people worldwide, a great number for the NFL. FIFA is expecting 3 billion people to tune in for the final match. That is an extraordinary number of people. Mm-hmm. And so when you think about that, for a way a sport really galvanizes and brings the world together, and the fact that that's coming to Philadelphia, I think it's that fan culture that is so ingrained in soccer, or as my sister likes to say, football is life, right? That is so ingrained worldwide that we're going to get to experience that for 5 weeks this coming summer.
What is the gateway? What can Philadelphians do today to get caught up on soccer so that we can be part of the fandom come this summer?
So right now, in terms of fans getting excited, I think the first opportunity is the draw, which just happened on Friday. And so this is our first opportunity to have a sense of the teams that are coming to Philadelphia.
So which countries are going to be involved?
Which countries are going to be involved? Which countries are going to be along the East Coast, right? Because as much as we're looking at Philadelphia, remember, New York, New Jersey, and Boston are host cities as well. So the likelihood that fans are going to travel up and down the Eastern Seaboard to experience as many World Cup moments as possible is very real. So as you think about that, part of getting excited and involved, and I think this is true of Philadelphia specifically, is going to be figuring out how do they fan? What are their songs? What are their chants? If we are Fly Eagles Fly or Go Birds, what is the phrase that might connect our fans to them?
Oh, cool.
Right? How do they march? A lot of fans march to the stadium. They want to be close. They line the streets just to get a glimpse of the bus going by, right? They are there because they believe they are part of that team, right? In the same way that Philadelphians came out for an Eagles Super Bowl.
We do the same thing.
Same thing. And that is something that as you look at other U.S. host cities, I think that is something that makes us unique and different because we get it. We totally get this. And not only do we get it, we're going to be like, yes, please, and more. Like, I'm in on the fun. Mm-hmm. So I think part of our job as the host committee at Philadelphia Soccer 2026 is to help people learn that. And as we get, into the new year, right, we're just learning who is coming to Philadelphia, right? And so given that, we need to learn. We can look at any number of dossiers, right? But we really need to dig in and learn about these fans, these fan traditions, the culture, the players, the history of these teams in the World Cup. When you think about some of the qualifiers that are already in that we know are going to be part of this tournament, absolutely. Argentina, Brazil, Portugal, right? You mean great teams. Morocco, who had a magical run in 2022, Japan. All of these great teams are going to be part of this. The U.S. men's national team is going to be part of it. There's an opportunity for incredible national pride. But then you have teams like Curacao or Côte d'Ivoire, right? These are the small nations where the dream of their entire country is to be able to qualify for a World Cup, and they're qualifying for the first time. Cinderella. Who doesn't love an underdog story like Philadelphia, right?
Right.
So when you think about all the ways that people are going to be able to engage and to come through the doors, this is not just for the diehard soccer fan. This is the event for the soccer curious, right? This is the event for people who, hear about the World Cup or understand that it's a really big deal, but have never really been able to connect into it. I also think it's an incredible moment for intergenerational connection.
How so?
So one of the things that we hear so often, especially among our business community and those who have been so supportive of the World Cup coming, is that they know it's important because their kids think it's important, right? Because their kids get up on Saturday mornings and watch the Premier League, that their kids are the ones who are following UEFA. They're following Bundesliga. They're following, all the different leagues around the world. Their players are not just focused on the U.S. men's national team because those players are like Christian Pulisic play for AC Milan. The Aronson brothers are playing in the Premier League. You do have Major League Soccer, so some are following MLS. There are all of these different leagues that they existed, but their ability and accessibility to a U.S. audience over the last 30 years is a major change, right? You didn't wake up on a Saturday morning. When I grew up in the 1980s and early 90s, we watched Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
And now you turn on, any number of Comcast properties, whether it's USA or Peacock, and at 7:00 in the morning, you're watching an amazing soccer match. You've had these doors open through Ted Lasso, right? You've had doors open through Welcome to Wrexham. The idea of people seeing the stories, the way that soccer envelops a place and is synonymous with their people, right? That is the most Philadelphia part of this, right? That is where I think Philadelphians and that intergenerational come in, because even if you are older and maybe haven't, really been part of a soccer culture, your kids might have played, your kids are really into, these professional leagues to certain players, right? There's there's a connection between how big of a deal this is. And I think that's a really cool thing to see how a younger generation is bringing people along and helping, a different generation, an older generation to understand like this is a big deal and it's important that we're part of it.
Big deal. So big that you guys are changing the name of the link to the Philadelphia Stadium?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Just for the tournament. So
okay.
This is actually part of this is FIFA's a part of the approach that FIFA takes with all of the host cities. So because it is about the host city, they want the stadiums to be identified by the cities themselves.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of other commercial pieces to this, as you might imagine, and financial implications around that for FIFA and their sponsors and their tournament partners. So this is something that FIFA has done routinely in any time that they go into different nations. So all of 16 host cities, Canada, Mexico, and the United States are all going to be by their cities. So New York, New Jersey Stadium, Boston Stadium, Philadelphia Stadium, and they believe it also will help from an international perspective, helping fans to understand
navigate
better and more easily through cities.
That makes sense. Meg, how many people are coming to Philly?
Sure. So right now, everything is an estimate. FIFA estimates 500,000 per host city, just based on the number of tickets that they will sell across the venues, right? So that is their preliminary estimate. What do we think will be? We use 500,000. But I think we also recognize that, again, that Eastern Seaboard travel is really important. Boston, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia. When you are 90 minutes between two stadiums, that is a very unique position. And so from an international perspective, or even a domestic traveler, we know that that's going to be, a very attractive for people who are coming to say, like, we can go to 2 or we can go to 3. You can fly to Toronto in an hour and a half, right? So there's definitely this opportunity for Philadelphia to serve in I would say, a very unique position in the tournament, specifically because there's no host city south of us until Atlanta, and there's no host city west of us until Kansas City, Missouri. 72 million Americans live in that area that I just described, right? So when you think about just the Americans that might be interested in coming, right? Our job is to make sure that Philadelphia and its value proposition to a soccer fan is above any other host city. That we want to say to them, come to Philadelphia, hub out of here, take a day trip to New York, New Jersey, but also take a day trip to Lancaster, take a day trip up to the Lehigh Valley, to Bethlehem. Come if you're coming from the West, and we love our friends in Kansas City. A lot of respect, for Travis and Taylor, Kansas City Chiefs, right? But we've got our own. We've got the King and Queen of Delco and Jason and Kylie Kelsey, right? We want to say to people, come through Pittsburgh, spend a day or 2 days in Pittsburgh, see all that they have to offer.
But you want people to come to Philly.
That's right. We are a destination that you can either begin or end your journey, right, with the World Cup. But we also recognize that it's a place that people can stay. The average World Cup traveler is on the road and in country for 21 to 24 days. I want them to spend as many days here in Philadelphia as possible. But the way that you do that is by showing them that they can do a lot of things in Philadelphia. I want their heads to rest on a pillow here in Philadelphia as often as possible. And then as they day trip in and out, we can really be that hub, because you can get on Amtrak and go New York, New Jersey, Boston. You can go to DC, right? And so how do you show that value proposition and make sure that you're reaching as many people as possible? That's certainly the work of Visit PA under, Deputy Secretary Ann Ryan, Visit Philadelphia with Angela Val and her team, PHLCVB with Greg Karen and his team. There is a united effort to make sure that we are positioning both the city and the Commonwealth as the destination. It's not just about World Cup, right? We are the biggest and the longest and the most international of the events for next summer, but we are also hosting the MLB All-Star Game, the 250th anniversary of the country. So there are a lot of things that people can do. And we want people to choose Philadelphia for the World Cup experience, and we want them to stay for everything that we know is great, including Michelin-rated restaurants.
Yeah.
That's right. The star matters.
I want to learn more about how you pitched Philly to FIFA after the break. I just love holiday traditions with my family. Like when we get into arguments over card games, when the kids beg to open one gift on Christmas Eve, or the karaoke and dance battles in the living room. We have such a good time, but my family lives in different states, so we can't often come together every holiday. So the photos and videos I make sure to take are meaningful and special to us. You can't wrap togetherness, but you can frame it with an Aura frame. Unlimited free photos and video. Just download the Aura app and connect to Wi-Fi. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code CityCast at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code CityCast. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is sponsored by Babbel. The idea of learning a new language can be scary. I felt overwhelmed by that. I bet you have too. I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and studies show that up to 90% of people trying to learn a new language give up. 90%. Fortunately, Babbel's built so that it's really easy to get started and really easy to stick with it. They understand that people learn differently. So maybe you can dive into a podcast on Babbel when you don't feel like a quick lesson, or you can speak out loud to get practice in, or you can explore courses based on specific topics and even create your own customized review lists, all within the Babbel app. Babbel has made learning a language all about small steps with real wins and progress you can actually track and feel. Bite-sized lessons that fit easily into your daily routine and are also easy to remember. Just 10 minutes a day is enough to start seeing real results. I've been learning Spanish with Babbel, and it's helped when I've traveled in Mexico, and it helps me eavesdrop on my son and my girlfriend when they speak Spanish to try to fool me. No más, mi corazón. However you learn best, by listening, speaking, reading, or writing, Babbel adapts to your style and keeps you motivated with personalized learning plans, real-time feedback, and progress tracking. And right now, here's a special limited time deal for CityCast listeners. Right now, get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
You're an alum from LaSalle?
Yeah.
Wow. So you know Philly.
I do.
So how did you convince an international soccer world to understand Philly other than Rocky and our cheesesteaks?
Rocky and our cheesesteaks are an important part of who we are. But
Was that part of the pitch?
It's always part of the pitch. Having lived here my whole life, with the exception of 2 years when I did my graduate work at the University of Maryland, I recognize that for many people around the world, their entry to Philadelphia is through Rocky and cheesesteaks. And I know that can be frustrating for Philadelphians sometimes. But the important thing is that it is an entryway. And our job is to let people enter Philadelphia however they feel most comfortable, and then share everything that we know and love about the city and why we are a world-class city. I think that's the biggest part that we took into account as we framed the bid for FIFA. It wasn't about saying we are more than Rocky and cheesesteaks. It was about saying this is part of our heritage, but here's everything else that you probably don't know. And that's because when you're bidding in these large scale, processes that are multi-year, we signed the letter of intent to host FIFA World Cup 2 days after the NFL draft in 2017. The Eagles had not yet won a Super Bowl when we signed the letter that said, yes, we would like to host FIFA World Cup.
Wow, have times changed?
Exactly,
Yeah.
Right? Now we
and
have
this
two
is also
Lombardis.
Before COVID.
Pre-COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So there are so many things that have happened between that letter being signed in 2017 and today. But what we really focused on in terms of frameworking our bid and making an argument for Philadelphia was we had to overcome the natural inclination, and I would say this, of of those who had never been here before, that we were simply a city between New York and Washington, D.C., that we are a city in between the media capital world and the political capital of the world, right? So how do you jump off, and how do you get a group of people that really don't think of you outside of maybe Rocky, maybe a cheesesteak?
Well, we're the now sports capital of the world,
Indeed.
maybe.
And that was part of what we talked about. But I would say that the most important thing that we positioned this bid around was the fact that Philadelphia, over the last 25 years, has become incredibly good at hosting mega events, whether it's the NFL draft, whether it's political conventions, whether it's a papal visit, whether it's a visit of the Dalai Lama, or when you think of a regular weekend here in Philadelphia.
Like the Philadelphia Marathon
the
recently.
Philadelphia Marathon, right? Like the marathon, like the parades, the Mummers upcoming January 1st, right? This ability where we might take for granted that these things just happen. These are major events that are year-long in the planning processes to deliver these experiences for residents and visitors. And so what we wanted to do was highlight just how impressive the city of Philadelphia and all of its partners have become in terms of what they are able to deliver.
But how do you tell that story to a Philadelphian who lives along Benjamin Franklin Parkway or who really enjoys the Schuylkill Banks but can't park behind the art museum now because things are closed? How do you tell them maybe this is not an inconvenience?
Great cities do big things. And the price of being a great city is doing big things for the world. And I think of that often because in working with my colleagues in New York, New Jersey, Los Angeles, Dallas, there are things that we hear in Philadelphia that never cross those cities' minds. They're not questions around driving or parking. It's just not something that is part of what they have to consider when planning a major event. One of the things that's most important, and I say this all the time, I want people to stay in Philadelphia. One of the things that breaks my heart when I talk about the World Cup is when the first question is, how much do you think I can get on Airbnb for my house? Or, I can't wait to leave. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting for the city, but I won't be here.
But do you think it's fair, though, for people to kind of think about the economics when we're a city that is a lot of folks are, on the poverty line and people are looking for opportunities to provide for their families, or they want to be able to enjoy the festivities, without being annoyed or something. Do you think there is some fairness to that, though?
There's always fairness. And certainly I live in Fairmount, so I can...
Oh, so you know.
I know. Yes. I've lived on Broad Street.
Oh, so you know.
I know. Right. So I'm not somebody who's coming at this from a lack of personal experience.
Got you. Okay.
I'm coming at this from the experience of saying, for Philadelphia to be able to rise and to continue to host these big events, to continue to benefit from the eyes of the world looking at Philadelphia, part of that sometimes is inconvenience.
And maybe changing our perspective?
Sometimes I think we are our harshest critic, right? Philadelphians are our harshest critics. And I say that as a very proud Philadelphian. We are the first to question whether we can do something. Are we ready? Can we handle it? I can assure you, these questions are not questions that I hear from other host cities in terms of what, from their own residents. There's a sense of, we got this. And I think Philadelphia is in a place where that's been part of this journey. We do got this. And yes, we do have our challenges. I went to LaSalle University at 20th and Alny. I certainly recognize that there are challenges in terms of poverty. SEPTA is an ongoing challenge. There are a lot of things about living in a big city, right, that we can do better, that we must do better. But they can't be mutually exclusive. It is not one or the other. We have to find a way to be and both. And so while I certainly appreciate that there are going to be concerns about inconvenience, and I am going to be the first person to tell you, there is going to be inconveniences. But there are inconveniences when we host the NFC Championship game at Lincoln Financial Field. There are inconveniences when we host the Mummers. There are inconveniences when we host the Marathon. It doesn't mean we don't do them, right? We are a big city that can do these things, and we do them well. And it is meant to be a period of time that allows us to tell Philadelphia's story in a bigger way and hopefully be able to generate the economic impact for the city, for the Commonwealth, that allows us to fund things that will improve people's lives on a daily basis.
So let's talk about the economic impact. How are Philly businesses preparing before the first match that's going to be in the city? And are there resources available for businesses to kind of like get ready in the coming months?
Sure. So there are definitely going to be outreach to small businesses across the region related to World Cup, but also related to 250, MLB. There's so many things that people can be part of, and Visit Philadelphia has been integral to that. We will be working with them. We have some work ahead of us in terms of getting people ready based on the countries that are coming. Right? Different cultures, different fan cultures. We're working with the federations as well for those nations to make sure that they recognize important American customs and cultures around perhaps tipping. Something that is something that is...
Is that controversial, or is that like, is it different?
It's non-existent in many nations, that tipping is not part of that culture. So being able to make sure that people understand that coming into the United States, that is an important custom that is part of the economic viability of those who are working, is part of the work that we're doing with the federations and the fan groups.
That's
to
huge.
Be able to make sure that they know that, right? I mean, these are important things. We're also doing a lot of education based on Club World Cup, around what people can and can't bring into stadiums. We saw during the Club World Cup that our fans from Morocco, the Wydad, love them, very passionate, love a flare. No flares at Lincoln Financial Field, but
or the Philadelphia Stadium,
or Philadelphia Stadium, correct? So those are some of the things that we'll be doing. So in terms of that business opportunity, a few things that I can say. If you are interested in understanding if there are opportunities, Philadelphia Soccer 2026 has a vendor interest form on our website, fwc26philly.com, where you can go and register all your information. It is important to recognize for FIFA, for MLB All-Star, that we have governing bodies, right? This is FIFA's tournament. The All-Star game is MLB's property. And so while it is happening in Philadelphia, not everything is going to be contracted or through the host committee. So we will try to identify as many opportunities as possible and promote those. When we receive opportunities that FIFA has, we typically send those out through not only the Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce, but all of the diverse chambers to make sure that we are promoting that. We send it out to City Council so that City Council can send it out to their constituents. We do a lot of work internally to make sure that we are promoting the opportunities that we are made aware of.
Trenae Nuri here. I love Philly, and I never feel more connected to it than when I bump into people and they're like, "What are you carrying?" I'm like, "I'm carrying my CityCast Philly Neighbors tote." And then they're like, "CityCast Philly? I listen to that." That feeling of deep connection with the city is why we created the CityCast Philly Neighbors program. Yes, the CityCast Philly Neighbors program is a way to support this podcast and keep it going. But it's also a way of getting more out of the city that you love. When you're a CityCast Philly neighbor, you get an early look at events coming up around town. You get to shout out local nonprofits or businesses that you love, and you get to join us for members-only experiences around town. It's a deeper way of living in Philly and a way of making local your top priority. Join CityCast Philly Neighbors by going to membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm, and you'll get a CityCast Philly beanie. All right, let's talk about the experience of the tournament. Is it too late to get tickets to the World Cup? And how many people got in the lottery? And from those people that got in the lottery, did they get their tickets?
So all of that information currently lies with FIFA, and they will distribute the information around the number of fans that came in through the lotteries, and there's multiple lotteries. So there are still opportunities to get tickets. In the post-draw world, there's going to be phases that open nearly immediately, and then again in Q1 of 26. So there's still opportunities for lottery for tickets now that we know which countries are going where.
The prices are all over the place. One listener had a ticket that was $330. Another ticket was $445
in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So our understanding, FIFA controls all ticketing and all pricing.
Gotcha.
Not the host committee. So we're not privy to how the market is set. We receive a range, but we don't know how each seat is priced. We understand that FIFA is utilizing a dynamic pricing system, which is very common in professional sports. So that doesn't surprise me that there might be tickets that are different prices, but we can't, as a host committee, can't really speak to how that pricing is done, simply because we don't have any visibility into how the price is set. What we as a host committee do control is FIFA Fan Festival. So from a local organizing committee, and very much led by our co-chairs Dan Hilferty and Michelle Singer, we wanted to create an experience where economics would not be the barrier to access. And so our FIFA Fan Festival at Lemon Hill is free to enter.
So tell me about it.
Yes. So we are incredibly excited about the FIFA Fan Festival at Lemon Hill Park. And it's a great story about coming up with a different place than we've ever used as a city for any type of event. And yes, we recognize there are 13 neighborhoods that surround Lemon Hill Park. But one of the things that happened, and it goes back to COVID, is in the original bid book, our FIFA Fan Festival was supposed to be the first event to ever be held at the park at Penn's Landing, the CAP, over I-95.
Oh, the park that doesn't exist yet.
That is correct. Mm-hmm. And so when COVID happened, the construction of the CAP was delayed. And once that was delayed, we needed to find another place to host FIFA Fan Festival, which had to accommodate between 10, 15, 20,000 people per day. So that is one of the areas where we had to get creative with the city of Philadelphia. And we really did give a lot of thought to a variety of different places. We've received a lot of questions. Why not FDR Park? Why not the Navy Yard? Well, their proximity to Philadelphia Stadium, to Lincoln Financial Field, they're too close. Right? They're based on FIFA security parameters.
Oh, I get it. Mm-hmm.
Right? So we had to, again, get creative. And I think we all recognize that it wasn't tenable for us to close the Benjamin Franklin Parkway for multiple months to host this event. We have hosted iconic events there, but they've all been 2, 3, 4, maybe a week at most, right? We're not looking at full closures, and this would have required that. And so we were very strategic in working both with the city, Welcome America, understanding their needs for July 4th, 2026, and thinking creatively. And kudos to Bob Allen in the Office of Special Events, who brought forth Lemon Hill. It is an amazing asset to the city that had not been invested in some time. It is beloved by the communities surrounding it. It is utilized, but up until this moment, it didn't have lighting. It didn't have sidewalks. So the FIFA Fan Festival location at Lemon Hill Park right now is going through an incredible amount of construction to prepare to host FIFA Fan Festival, which I liken to soccer Coachella, right? It is more than a watch party. It is food and beverage. It's activations. It's entertainment. And it's family friendly. And it's meant for people to share in the sport. So for us, yes, there's food and beverage. There's going to be all opportunities. Don't worry, you can get your merchandise there. You can make sure that you're getting your full World Cup experience. But what was really important to us as a host committee, and especially given our partnership with the city of Philadelphia, was that to walk in didn't cost you a dime, right? And so no matter where you sit economically, right, that if you have a 7, 8-year-old who is just absolutely soccer obsessed, that the answer to the question of how can we be part of it wasn't necessarily because being the ticketing really hard. FIFA Fan Festival, come every day, right? And be part of it and give that experience. And that for us has been the guiding light for our planning, which is we want to make sure that this is truly a celebration of soccer, but also of the city and of our green space and of our neighborhoods, and the idea that we would welcome the world to a neighborhood, which is how we define ourselves as a city, right? It was so interesting and appealing. And to have that vista of overlooking the skyline, the art museum, Boathouse Row, that's just such a special way for us to welcome the world.
What are you most excited for, Meg?
I love that question. And my answer to the question of what am I most excited for is twofold. I am so excited for the magic that we don't even know is going to happen. When you think about these major sporting events, and specifically, I remember, watching the Euros and seeing the fans from Germany that broke out and danced in the middle of a park, and everybody was just part of it, singing and chanting. And there was a fan with a saxophone and just rocking out. And it's on social media, and everyone is just in it, right? And then you see the Dutch wave, and you see these fans, and you're like, what is this wave of people all dressed in orange? And it's their fans swaying as they march down the street, chanting, right? There's this magic that I think is going to happen. One, because as we talked about earlier, Philadelphia fans are going to get this. They're going to get this fandom, and they're going to want to be part of it. And I think that cross-cultural exchange and that connection at a time where I think the world is really yearning for something to come together around, to find commonality, to have a little fun, is that. Right? And so I think there's going to be these magic moments that we just can't even know until they happen. And then they're going to be the moment that we remember, that everyone thinks about as the image of the World Cup in Philadelphia. So that's one. But the other part that I'm excited for is 2027 and beyond. This is not about 26. Winning the World Cup bid was about making everything else possible for the city of Philadelphia. The most important reason for us to win the World Cup bid was because it ended the question of, are we good enough as a city? We are absolutely good enough. We were in the most competitive multi-year bidding process against 24 other United States cities. And we stood up and we won. We got selected. We were chosen. Right? As Philadelphians, there's pride in that. They recognize that we were more than Rocky and cheesesteaks. They saw everything that makes Philadelphia special and unique. It's the arts and culture. It is the sports fandom. It's the culinary scene. It's our hotels. It's our walkability. It's everything that we know and love, and that makes us feel warm about Philadelphia. FIFA saw that too. And they said that the world needs to see that. That's where the most important sporting event we host has to be. And so for me, it's about what Philadelphia will do next. And that's what I'm excited about. What's next for Philadelphia, and seeing who steps up to help answer that question.
Meg, thank you so much for breaking this all down and sharing Philly's rich soccer history with me on CityCast Philly.
Thank you so much for having me tonight. It's been great.
Are you going to be the one with the saxophone?
I am not. No, I promise. I have no musical talent. I will be there, though.
You're going to start the Dutch wave.
I'm going to start the Dutch wave.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'll be there.
I just want to say thank you to our existing CityCast Philly neighbors, because you guys made this possible. And I also want to shout out our newest neighbors. We've got a few, y'all. Kira C, Guy A, and Michael G. Thank you all so much for joining us. And welcome to the family. Welcome to the neighborhood. If you want to join Kira, Guy, and Michael, head over to membership.citycast.fm/Philly. It's just $10 a month, $100 a year. You're getting that beanie if you join today. Head over to membership.citycast.fm/Philly. That's all for our show today. If you enjoyed this episode about what to expect, what to look forward to for FIFA World Cup when it comes through, tell a friend. Rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. And don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks like that beanie by becoming a CityCast Philly neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Philly. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.